Tonight we're going to be going through, we've got a PowerPoint of sort of most commonly asked questions that we get, and at the end of the time we'll have some time when people can ask questions. If you've got any questions on the way through, you can pop them in the chat column over on the right hand side of the screen. If a question or a comment pops up during our talk, you can type your questions in here. And typing is not. So yeah, there'll be time at the end where we'll answer those questions, and if we need to have a conversation, a two-way conversation with anyone, we can enable your microphone and camera as we go through. We will be recording tonight, so everyone's aware of that. And some of the things that we're going to cover this evening is program resources. A lot of instructors, know they're there but don't sort of delve into them, so we're going to cover a few of those. We're going to talk about insurance because that's something that a lot of instructors ask us about. What are they covered for? And we're going to talk about, Gemma's going to go into retention of participants and converting participants to members, which is sort of a whole of club topic, but it's really important for instructors to be part of that conversation with people that come to your courses. And then we're going to talk about the Pathways program, which is an ongoing working group with Sarah Ogilvie. We actually have a meeting this evening at 7 o'clock, so we need to hop off here by at least 6:45, so we can all have a little bit of a break before that meeting. So we're going to get started now. It's our next slide, Gemma.
Wonderful, thank you, Emma. So just as you know, guys, we just wanted to quickly flag our Learn to Sail pathways in terms of from a participant point of view. Just wanted to flag this because we'll be going into this, and we're mainly sort of focusing on instructor pathways and what you guys as instructors are, but obviously you do need to know the sequence of courses for your participants. So if they say to you, hey Craig, what's next? You're then able to answer. Something that's just been released today is there is a new offer for TACA's accredited centres. So Australian Sailing has a new sponsor or partner, NutriCare, and what they're doing is they're offering $100 off a dinghy or a dinghy assistant instructor for accredited TACA centres, and that's for one person. So this will be going out to your Discover Sailing principal, but we just sort of wanted to flag that this is coming up. So that is something that is happening. Perfect. So dinghy instructor. Quick flagging on the dinghy instructor. We know this is our pathways. There's Start Sailing 1, Start Sailing 2, and Better Sailing. There are two different types of dinghy instructors. There is the plain dinghy instructor and the dinghy racing instructor. So if you are interested in teaching Start Racing or Better Racing, you need to be a qualified dinghy racing instructor. And to do so, you just need to go online and fill in a racing CV. If you have any interest in that, feel free to ask and we can send the link in the chat, or we can send you the link out afterwards. But we just want to flag that if you are wanting to teach racing and this Start Racing and Better Racing, it is really important that you make sure that your qualification does cover you. Perfect. Craig?
Right. With our resources, these are accessed obviously from our website under the resources button, and I'd encourage you to actually revisit these areas quite a bit, because there's a lot of good information that we can actually provide, such as crib cards, which is just like cheat sheets, so to speak, so that you've got your key points on all your topics. You've got session plans and so forth that we're building, and to give you as much information as we can to make it easier to instruct. If there's any issues and everything, generally these have been covered in our instructor resources. They can be accessed from our website, as we say. Basically, the changes that we've had in the last month or so is that, and as effective as of today, with our participants, they'll be mailed upon the registration. When they register for a course, they'll be given a program syllabus logbook as a soft copy, so they can download that as a PDF. So we don't they can access the hard copy if need be, But with regards to the soft copy, they'll have that prior to the course as well, so they can get some information before they get to the course. For the dinghy and keelboat programs, the participants will be receiving the program textbook and as a soft copy as well, and they have the option to purchase a hard copy if they want to. So that's changes for those two courses. For the windsurfing and powerboat courses, the participants will be sent a link to purchase the textbook, but they will also be provided as a soft copy the logbook accordingly. So they're the changes that we have. So we're going to be reducing our paper footprint, so to speak, but they have the option there to buy it if need be. For the TACAs program, there's no change to the current delivery of the books and paperwork. So that'll be still in their packs as needed. One of the things that for instructors to run TACAs and so forth, you need to complete the TACAs induction to teach TACAs. There is also the Out There program, which is not hasn't got the resources in there. It's on a separate page, but there are Out There induction courses that you can do. They're all free and so forth. They're the same platform as what you did your Instructor General Principles or Coach General Principles. There's the Out There Windsurfer induction, the Out There stand-up paddleboarding induction, which is all online now. And we are expecting more courses to come online to help you out and give you as much information as we can. So that's basically, I'd suggest that you go and visit those programs. For the powerboat program, just an update to what I've been doing as a chief powerboat instructor for the country. We're changing our courses in the future. I'd say we're looking about 12 months' time by the standard of things, how they go. The content is basically exactly the same, but we're changing the delivery method so that we currently have 3 courses: the Start Powerboat program, the Powerboat Handling, and the Safety Boat Operator courses. The first 2 will be combining for a Start Powerboat Handling course and the other course. So we're going to bring that into just 2 courses. So the last one will be the Safety Boat Operator, which is a higher level. We're looking at trying to change it from being a one-day theory session face-to-face and a practical day face-to-face. We're changing that to more of an e-learning component for the first day so that people can go online. It's free to do. They'll get the link once they register on the course, and they can complete a full course in the e-learning sort of process. So that'll cover both the new courses that we're running. So if you want to do powerboat handling, you do the e-course and then you do one-day practical. If you choose to go onto a safety boat operator course, then you do the same e-learning component and then you do the one-day safety boat operator course. So that's the new sort of format that's coming up, I would say, in about 12 to 18 months' time by the look of things. So currently we're still in with the 3 courses, but that'll be, we're trying to reduce the face-to-face time, reduce costs and so forth, and time that people need to be able to do it. You know, that would have been nice to have that during COVID, but we haven't got that implemented. But the courses have been designed. They've just got to be put into the format that we need for the online sort of side of things. With insurance for instructors, I think this is you, Gemma.
Emma.
No, Emma. Sorry,
I'm jumping in for this one. So insurance is something we get quite a few questions about from members and clubs and instructors. And when you are a qualified instructor teaching at the Discover Sailing Centre, teaching one of our accredited courses, you are covered by the Australian Sailing Public Liability Insurance. And when you also need to make sure that if you're not currently a club member anywhere, that the club you're working at has you in their RevSport database so that you're active in the member list, and then you're covered by the personal injury insurance policy as well. Gemma will send out links to our insurance page to everyone who's on the call tonight so that you can read through those really exciting policy documents if you ever need to. And it's also got the link to the to the form if you need to make a claim on the personal injury policy, if you have any issues with the public liability policy. There's a link to Talia from Network Steadfast on our insurance page, so you can answer sort of nitty-gritty questions about the actual policy, because we're not policy experts, but we've got a really great person called Talia at Network Steadfast who is our specific sailing insurance guru. She's excellent. I had a chat to her this morning. So you just got to make sure that you're active in the database, that you're teaching at a DSC and teaching an accredited course. And I'll let Craig run through this and the next page.
Yep. What we've got is the difference between instructors insurance and also the difference between that and coaching insurance is quite big. So we need to make sure that we understand the difference between an instructor and a coach, and you must have that qualification accordingly, which means that when you do your qualification, you need to make sure that it's valid for 5 years. If it's turning due that the 5 years is up, then you need to do a re-accreditation, which is just attending 1 day of our sailing instructor courses. It also means that you have to pay your yearly fee, and this is a little bit overlooked by quite a few instructors. It costs $125, which covers you for liability insurance, and that's on a yearly basis, and you'll get an invoice and so forth, which needs to be paid to keep that valid. Otherwise, it'll be inactive and you won't be covered. You would need your first aid certificate up to date, which lasts for 3 years, so that's out of sync with your qualification timing. But our system will remind you when that's falling due. Please do not ignore those emails and get your first aid certificates to us as soon as you can. If you're over 18, you need your working with children check as well. That lasts for 5 years, and we need to keep that up to date as well on our profile. So keeping your qualification valid is really important. And so with regards to the insurance for the instructors, if we go back one there, one step ahead there, then we're basically covered for instructing at accredited courses, that's Australian sailing courses, at a Discover Sailing Centre. So once the course is actually linked to our programs and at a Discover Sailing Centre and your qualification's up to date, then you're covered for instructor personal accident, instructor liability, participant personal accident, providing that the participant is entered and registered in Rev Sport. So that means all your registered people need to be in the system to be able to be covered. The sort of things on an instructor, if you're employed by a parent to do one-on-one private coaching off the beach, then you're not covered by this insurance. That's a big one that I see a lot of, where people don't have their coaching qualification and they're just an instructor, and this one comes a lot to fruition. So keep that in mind. Running a corporate sailing day session, that's you won't be covered for any of the corporate days as an instructor or a coach. Instructor qualification lapsed or any of your renewal fee unpaid, still outstanding, you're not covered. Instructing at a centre made course, like not an Australian sailing course, then you're not covered. So you need to make sure that your club has a necessary insurance or yourself. Okay, so as a coach, if we move on to the next one, the difference for coaches is that if you held that qualification, which is a step up with regards to what we're looking for from instructing, is that you're pretty well covered for most situations. Again, everything that we had in the instructor side of it is covered as a coach. The only thing is that running a corporate sailing day, that's not covered. So please stay away from that sort of area. It's fraught with danger. And also, if you are engaging an unaccredited coach to assist with coaching sessions, then you're not covered and they're not covered and your participants are not covered. So again, that's a very important sort of thing to do. So we do get a lot of questions on it as far as it's concerned, and yes, our link to our insurance broker will actually help you with any sort of case scenarios that you have with regards to it. All right.
Thanks, Craig. Awesome. So I just want to talk about retention of participants, because this is sort of a big area to talk about. This is obviously something that is important for you as an instructor, but also important for the club. So there is sort of an overlap, because even though the club is responsible for keeping those participants where possible, you guys are the main face. And when someone comes to a Learn to Sail course, the first person they come in and see is you. So you are really the face of the club, and the rapport and the trust the participants build, it's not with the club, it's with you. So a few ways in terms of retention is really good communication before the course. So before the course, recommend sending a welcome email to participants. This can be done using RevSport, and we have a few sample emails on the next slide that will show you guys that Lake Jindabyne has sent out. Just because when you rock up to a sailing course, someone who's never sailed, they don't know they need closed-toed shoes. They don't know they can't wear mum and dad's precious jewelry band. So just spelling things out in a way that things we would think are obvious, we need to make it obvious to our students. Parents, obviously that's a big one. The parents are the ones who are paying, even though our student is the ones completing the course. So we do need to be careful of our parents and try and include them in the Learn to Sail program where possible. So a few examples of this are like a morning tea. So like say it's a 5-day course, you could do a 1-day morning tea with the parents. You could do a little Discover Sailing morning with the parents. So you get a different instructor to take the parents out so they get to go sailing. And the one thing I just want to talk about is including versus managing the parents. So it is one thing to include the parents and say, hey, would you like to come for a morning tea? But then we also do need to manage them, because we don't want to say, hi, can you please come and help us with the Learn to Sail program? And then their child is sort of not really getting anything out of it because mum and dad are breathing down their neck the whole time. So it is a really, really difficult space to sort of manage them and also include them. So hopefully those like coffee ideas or the little Discover Sailing day can work. We sort of call it micro volunteering as such, because we want them to volunteer and feel like they're helping, but we're actually, as the instructors, doing the hard yards. Post-course, it's really important to communicate with our participants. So I would recommend as an instructor to always have a one-on-one conversation with every parent, or if they're over 18, participant post-course. So this means that the participant knows where they stand, they know what's next, and they also can ask any questions that they feel uncomfortable asking in a group setting. This is really important to say, look, Johnny did a really good job. He did really well in TACAs 1. He just didn't quite get it. So if he's interested in going into the next step, I'd strongly recommend him completing TACAs 1 again, just so he can get some extra confidence and have some time to build those skills. The next TACAs 1 course is going to be on this date. And that's really helpful for mum and dad, because they know, okay, this is what I need to do next if my child is interested in staying. Also using a follow-up email. So this is more a sailing manager's role, but in the smaller clubs, I know the instructors do take this on. So I'll show you another example of that next. And using that to advantage. So saying what's next in the sailing, how they can get involved in the club. And then conversion to membership is always something that we get asked a lot. I'm only going to briefly touch on it now, but if there's anyone who has any questions and wants to discuss this further, our contact details are at the end, so feel free to reach out. Happy to have a meeting. But basically what you want to do is have a continued Learn to Sail program. Hopefully, you know, your first few steps are for non-members. And then after that, it's like, oh, we really recommend that you become a member if you want to join this. So creating a pathway for them. And some clubs also have boat loans. So if it's your first year of the Learn to Sail program, you can loan a boat, and that's an easy way into boat ownership. Something that we can discuss further if you're interested, but I'm just going to briefly go over that. So in terms of a welcome email, this is one that Lake Jindabyne send out to their TACAs kids before it starts. What we're going to do is we're going to put it online and send it to you guys after this in an editable format. So if you are interested, you can adapt this. A few things I just wanted to point out. So bringing a towel and warm, dry clothes. You know, some people think you jump on sailboats, you might not get wet. We all know as instructors, the odds of falling in are quite difficult. Another thing is the closed-toed shoes to wear sailing. If you say closed-toed shoes, quite often someone will turn up in their brand new Nikes and then refuse to get in the water with them. And we all know the risks associated with that. And if we can get our students to wear closed-toed shoes, it's just such an important thing to do. So obviously this list is going to be different for your club and your location, but really sit down and have a think about it and think about the things that aren't obvious so that you wouldn't necessarily straight away bring. It's also really important to include the location, the time, obviously everything COVID related, and just little things. So like they thought it was really important to say, do not bring any precious items because the club isn't able to be locked and there's nowhere to keep them. And then usually at the bottom, it's if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me, and an email address and a phone number is really good, just in case people do have questions. In terms of a post-course email, this is quite a simple version, but what these guys do is they say, thank you for attending, hope you have a wonderful time. Lake Jindabyne actually include a complimentary year of junior membership for their TACAS participants, completely up to you, not compulsory, something they decide to do. And then if they're interested in continuing their sailing journey, they've put some links there. And if you have any questions, contact this person on this number. Again, this is really useful, but hopefully if you've had that one-on-one conversation, when mum or dad click through on that link, they go, okay, I know little Johnny's up to TACAS 1 or TACAS 2. And that's really important because it makes the parents feel special and they know where their child's at. So this is something that we also just wanted to flag. So currently under development by Sarah Ogilvie is a pathways program. So this is all different types of pathways, from Green Fleet to instructor pathways to official pathways to youth committees. And basically what we're trying to do is create a smoother transition from the TACAS 1, TACAS 2, TACAS 3, so the Start Sailing program, onto the racing, because at the moment it can be a little bit disjointed and difficult. So we're in the process of creating up to 20 Green Fleet session plans. If that's something you're interested in being part of or having, please reach out and let me know. And what we're doing is we're just trying to nationwide standardise all of our instructing and coaching sort of from our better sailing onwards. This is still in the process, so more than happy to talk about it. We're, trying to create some youth committees. We're trying to create some instructor development opportunities. So there's some really great improvement in this space and some really great stuff happening in this space. Still very new. We will keep you updated, but just wanted to flag that this is happening so you guys know. Awesome. So games resources, we spoke about this when we had Georgie and Yana doing our first webinar, which was really nice. What we're hoping to do is Craig and myself are putting together a games resource. So basically all the games that Yana and Georgie were talking about in our first webinar, as well as the games that you guys use and you find really awesome. So if there's a game that you use and you find it works really well with the children or adults, on water, off the water, we'd love to hear about it. So please let us know and we will add it to our resource. And what we're doing in the next sort of month or so is we're going to collate that and put it into a resource, a big PDF, so then you have a go-to book of games. So please, we'd love if you could share your games with us. So if you have anything, please let us know and we can add to the resource. The one thing I like to say when I'm running my dinghy instructor courses is being an instructor is not an original thing. Like I'm not the only instructor, Craig's not the only instructor. There are many, many instructors, and what we all do is we all learn from each other. If everyone has this little bag of tricks that they put over on their shoulder, we want to add to that bag of tricks. And if there's a game that I teach and you love, feel free to take it. Or if there's something that, someone else does and you love, take it. The little sayings, the little games, we all learn and evolve as an instructor. And the more we can work together, the better instructors we are going to be. Wonderful. So now we've got question time. If anyone has any questions, you're welcome to ask them in the chat or put your hand up. We know we have been answering a few questions beforehand, but if anyone has questions, we're here to answer them and we're here to help.
Okay, just to go through a couple that have come through is all the e-learning courses are set up in the online system Canopy, which is where you did your instructor general principles. We've got plenty of courses coming up, new ones being added throughout time, so keep looking at those. We've got Mark Lane courses and they're all free to do. For the powerboat one I was talking about, that one would be a prerequisite for the participants to do once they register and before they get on the course. If they haven't done it by the time they get onto the course, then they won't get their certificate or finish the course until that's done. We're looking at also, I had a question there from Mike Forbes. Are instructing and coaching insurances combined once you are accredited as a coach, or are they completely separate entities? They're separate in the way that coaching covers you a lot more, and will cover you in most scenarios as we talked about. So a coach will be more insured than the instructor. So if you don't have your coach's qualification, then that's when the limitations come on, as we talked about in those scenarios.
Being a coach does not mean you can teach learn to sail, though, because in coaching we focus on, fine tuning the rig details. How do you tell what sail suits? Whereas instructing is really, okay, what is the first step of attack? So they are quite different skills.
That's correct. We also had another one by Kingsley. Learn to sail involving parents, great idea, and it is super important. But how you manage that is going to be centre dependent and so forth. We have a lot of volunteers and so forth, and would that invalidate the insurance of the instructor or coach parent? It would. It was something that on the water you've got to be very careful, and you wouldn't really have the parent on board if they weren't qualified. And then you're a little bit safer in that sort of area.
Kingsley, in regards to that question, what I would recommend with the micro volunteering is, I really need that mark moved. Would you be able to carry that over to the boat for me? So in order for the participants to be covered, we still need to stay in our ratio. So 1 instructor to 6 boats and 1 assistant instructor to 3 boats. And each instructor can only have 2 assistant instructors. So that is something we need to be careful of. When I say micro volunteering, it's sort of, trying to get them feel like they're included, but without being included. Like, can you just move that for me or help with that flag? Or I'm trying to draw, can you help me rig the boats beforehand? So micro volunteering, but sort of taking a step back once it's time for the students. And that's why those coffee mornings and the Discover Sailing mornings with the parents have been really successful at clubs that we've been speaking to, because it gets the parents doing something but takes them away into a different area than the students.
Something that's also really important if parents are going to be volunteering at the club, either on or off the water, is that the club puts them in their RevSport member database under a volunteer category. A lot of clubs set up a volunteer category of membership, because then those volunteers are covered by personal injury insurance, just in case they hurt themselves on or off the water. Sean's asked a question about rescheduling courses. We've actually discussed this morning, that we know we've got a lot of courses that we've had to either cancel or postpone, and there's a lot of people that want to particularly do prerequisites or instructor courses, and we as soon as we are able to get back to teaching face-to-face, we will be rescheduling them and trying to fit in as many as we can as soon as possible. We're really aware of that, and there isn't really a lot of that we can do online, unfortunately.
Awesome. Great question from Santo. If the Start Powerboating course is taken away, what would you recommend as an alternative?
Okay, the Start Powerboating isn't taken away, it's just combined with the powerboat handling. So the content is exactly the same. It's not taken away at all, in the way that most of the content is done online and with a high level of boat handling skills acquired, which is incorporating the powerboat handling side of things. So it's not actually changed. Yeah, so
it's one course so we'll have 2 courses instead of 3.
Yeah,
but we'll be teaching the same stuff.
Max has asked where the games resource will be located. So that'll be located on the New South Wales ACT instructor page, and I will be sending the link out tomorrow to that, and we'll send you another email once we've uploaded it. Just give us a bit of time, but we love more input. So if you could please email us or add to the survey some more games, that would be awesome.
And we're also planning on updating that, every 6 months to a year as we, if instructors want to submit new games that they're using that are not in the current list, we'll, refresh that periodically and email it out to the instructors, and we'll also, have it on the website available to download. Sometimes it can be tricky to find the right spot because we've got so much in our resource website, but you can always just email or give us a call and we'll send you the link.
Emma, we have a question from
Yes,
Josh
so personal
asking,
injury.
yes.
Yeah, personal injury insurance. If you're in the member database as an active member, you are covered for sailing, whether it's racing or recreational sailing. Yep, and you're also covered going to and from the club and when you're on the club property. So we've had claims for, a kid getting their finger jammed in a door that needed operating on, or, kids who fall over in the boat park and knock out a tooth, or, so it is a really good policy, and you can have a look at the link to see what it covers. But yes, if you are an active member in the club database for every category other than social non-sailing, you're covered by that policy.
There's one there from Mike Forbes. Insurance can be a minefield, potentially, help us if their club members would be covered under the club's own liability insurance. Therefore, club instructors would also be covered under the same policy. So could there be a possible doubling up of the insurances if claim ever to be made? I think,
sometimes there is a bit of an overlap between our liability policy that covers instructors and a club's public liability policy. Most clubs have a public liability policy themselves, and there is often a bit of an overlap in coverage, but I don't know. I think it's probably better to have more insurance than not enough.
That's right. Discover Sailing Centres have portfolio responsibilities for instructors. Well, they're all outlined during the instructor course as well, but there is responsibilities for what the instructor can and can't do. That's fairly well documented, and Discover Sailing Centres you have that in documentation in their policies. There's one there from Peter. For the powerboats, the new proposed structure reflects the way I currently deliver the courses anyway. Really looking forward to the e-learning resources. That wasn't a question, I don't think, but it's something that we've
nice
been...
comment, thank you, Peter.
It's something that we've been trying to implement for a number of years now, so that we're trying to reflect it to make it more economical and user-friendly for the participants.
Yeah. And Seamus, in terms of more powerboat handling courses in Sydney soon, as Emma mentioned beforehand, unfortunately, we're not able to run anything at the moment, but powerboat handling courses are actually run by Discover Sailing Centres. So I would talk to your Discover Sailing Centre to put on a course. We are trying to leave as many courses, with the exception of the instructor courses, to the centres. That means they can put the participants through and they can put them on when the demand is.
Yeah, and I'm, and speaking to clubs, they're, champing at the bit to get out there and start running courses and racing and all the other things they want to run face to face as soon as possible as well. We're all just going to have to be a little bit patient, unfortunately. But to keep you in.
Sorry,
what was the other?
What are your thoughts on selling online courses to participants? I don't think we have any for some.
Question. Yeah, so I was asked this question yesterday, actually, by a club CEO. Do we have online versions of our Australian sailing courses? And at the moment, the answer is no. It's really a face-to-face thing, teaching kids and adults how to sail. So we don't have any online courses that we charge for or that clubs are able to charge for. A lot of clubs are keeping their course participants who've already been to courses and have become club members engaged with sort of informal coaching sessions online with their instructors or coaches. But no, we don't have any specific online courses that clubs can sell. Clubs can certainly set up their own online courses if they want, and if you want to charge for them, but you can't at the moment you can't set up any Australian Sailing accredited courses and sell them as online courses because our guidelines involve teaching those courses face-to-face, not online. But yeah, I just sent an email out to clubs this evening. I've noticed a lot of clubs are doing a lot of great things online with webinars about navigation, or talks about, interesting cruising people have done, interviewing interesting sailing characters, running trivia nights, running cooking lessons online, wine tasting online. And we are having a whole lot of webinars over the next couple of months. Starting next week, we've got 3 more Wednesday webinars about rules and protests with 3 international judges. The first one will be a refresh of the rules, because the new rule book came out at the start of this year. The second one will be about protests, about what they're all about, and advice for clubs who are looking at running them online. And the third one will be a Q&A